15-second hook, opening narration. What if everything you thought you knew about Hanukkah was just the beginning? Beneath the glow of menorahs and spinning dreidels lies a story of courage, rebellion, and survival. A story of a people standing against an empire to reclaim their faith, their land, and their identity. Tonight, we uncover the true history of Hanukkah that textbooks rarely tell.
Part 1.
In the rolling hills and dusty valleys of ancient Judea, life once followed the rhythms of the temple in Jerusalem. Families gathered for sacrifices, prayers were recited daily, and festivals marked the passing of seasons. But by the 2nd century BCE, the peace of these holy routines was shattered. The Greek-Syrian Seleucid Empire, under the rule of King Antiochus IV Epiphanes, extended its power into Judea with ambitions of cultural dominance and political control. Antiochus had a vision of a unified empire, one that spoke a single language, worshipped a single set of gods, and lived under a single ruler. For the Jewish people, whose traditions and laws were woven into every fiber of their daily life, this vision was catastrophic. Antiochus demanded not only political loyalty but cultural assimilation. Jewish laws were forbidden, circumcision was outlawed, and the study of Torah became an act of rebellion. The temple in Jerusalem, the sacred heart of Jewish worship, was desecrated. Idols were erected on its altars, and sacrifices to Greek gods replaced the rituals of centuries. The streets buzzed with tension as families whispered prayers in secret. Fear hung heavy in the air. Some Jews chose survival through compliance, hiding their beliefs to avoid persecution. Others felt the fire of resistance igniting in their hearts, unwilling to surrender their heritage. Amidst this oppression, a small family of priests, the Hasmoneans, rose to prominence. Led by Mattathias and his sons, the group that would become known as the Maccabees refused to bow to Antiochus's decrees. Mattathias, known for his fiery spirit, sparked rebellion with a single act of defiance. When a Greek officer commanded him to offer a sacrifice to Zeus, he refused and killed both the officer and a fellow Jew who was ready to comply. This act was not merely a rejection of foreign rule but a declaration that Jewish identity could not be bought or coerced. "We will serve our God," Mattathias declared, "even if it costs our lives." Word of the revolt spread like wildfire. Farmers, merchants, and scholars alike joined the Maccabees. Their numbers were small compared to the well-trained Seleucid army, but they possessed something far greater, an unyielding belief in justice and freedom. Guerrilla warfare became their strategy. They struck swiftly from the hills, ambushed supply lines, and vanished before the empire could retaliate. History remembers these battles as miracles, but scholars suggest they were victories rooted in strategy, local knowledge, and the desperate courage of a people defending their homeland. The struggle was not only physical, but symbolic. Every act of rebellion, every regained hilltop, every recaptured town represented a step toward reclaiming a sacred identity under siege. The temple, defiled and abandoned, became the ultimate prize. When the Maccabees finally recaptured Jerusalem, they found the sanctuary desecrated, its golden menorah overturned, and its sacred vessels destroyed. For them, the act of purification was both a ritual and a statement. Their God, their law, and their culture could never be extinguished. According to tradition, when the Maccabees sought to relight the temple menorah, they found only a single jar of oil, enough for one night. Miraculously, it burned for 8 nights, symbolizing divine approval of their mission. Scholars today suggest this miracle may have been a symbolic story, a poetic way to convey endurance, resilience, and the rekindling of hope after years of darkness. The menorah itself, with its 7 original branches and central light, became more than a lamp. It became a representation of Jewish continuity, a beacon through centuries of persecution. Beyond the menorah, other traditions emerged to commemorate the revolt. The spinning dreidel, for example, served a dual purpose. On one hand, it was a game. On the other, it was a clandestine educational tool. When Greek soldiers patrolled the streets, Jewish children could hide their studies of Torah within the innocent motion of a spinning top. Even simple customs carried layers of meaning, subtle acts of defiance that passed from generation to generation. Understanding the origins of Hanukkah requires seeing beyond the modern celebration. Today, many focus on gifts, latkes, and songs. But the festival was born of struggle and survival, of ordinary people who stood against an empire far larger and stronger than themselves. It reminds us that history is rarely simple, that miracles may take the form of courage, and that faith is not passive. It demands action. The story of the Maccabees also reveals the complex politics of the era. Antiochus IV was not evil in the modern sense. He was a ruler consolidating power, attempting to unify an empire with diverse peoples and beliefs. Resistance, therefore, was not only spiritual, but profoundly political. The revolt preserved a culture that might have been erased, ensuring the survival of language, law, and traditions that continue to resonate today. As the dust settled after battles and sieges, the Hanukkah festival took shape. Lighting the menorah each night became both a religious observance and a cultural affirmation. Eating foods fried in oil reminded the people of perseverance, of a single jar lasting far beyond expectation. Spinning dreidels became more than play. They became a quiet declaration that identity survives even under scrutiny. Each candle, each symbol, each act of remembrance carries the weight of history, connecting modern families to the sacrifices of those who came before. Reflecting on this hidden history invites us to see Hanukkah not just as a joyful celebration, but as a story of resilience, courage, and cultural continuity. It is a reminder that even in the darkest times, people can reclaim their dignity, their faith, and their identity. And while many stories have been simplified into tales of miracles and light, the real miracle may be the endurance of a people who refuse to surrender. Part 2. After reclaiming Jerusalem, the Maccabees faced the monumental task of restoring not only the physical temple, but also the spirit of a people who had endured years of oppression. Every stone they touched seemed heavy with memory, every corner filled with the echoes of rituals that had been silenced. Yet, for all their triumphs, the challenges were far from over. The Seleucid Empire still loomed large, and maintaining independence required vigilance, unity, and the cleverness of minds accustomed to surviving in the shadow of a mighty empire. The purification of the temple was an act steeped in symbolism and painstaking labor. Priests carefully removed Greek idols and cleansed the sanctuaries with water, incense, and prayers. The sacred altar was reconstructed, the vessels restored, and the menorah, a symbol of eternal light, was relit. While the story of the oil lasting 8 nights became the centerpiece of Hanukkah lore, historians suggest that the act of relighting the menorah represented far more, the rekindling of national identity and spiritual resolve after a period of darkness. The light was not merely physical, it symbolized hope, resilience, and the continuity of a faith under threat. Even as the temple burned with new flame, the political realities of Judea demanded strategy. The Seleucid kings had armies at their disposal, and alliances were fragile. The Maccabees, led by Judah, the eldest son of Mattathias, understood that survival required more than military might. It required diplomacy, intelligence, and the careful management of morale among a population traumatized by oppression. Letters were sent to surrounding territories, envoys traveled to forge alliances, and the message of Jewish independence spread. Every town and village had a stake in the rebellion, for the fight was not merely about land. It was about freedom of conscience, about ensuring the right to practice one's religion without interference. Battles erupted in unexpected places, often in narrow mountain passes or near villages that offered strategic advantage. Despite being outnumbered, the Maccabees used their intimate knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. Historians today marvel at the strategic brilliance of these guerrilla campaigns, noting that the Maccabees' victories were not purely miraculous. They were the result of clever tactics, timing, and unwavering courage. Accounts suggest that what appeared miraculous to observers may have been a combination of skill and the element of surprise, magnified by the myth-making that naturally accompanies revolutionary success. Yet, the story of Hanukkah extends beyond military victories. The customs that arose from this period are infused with layers of meaning that transcend the battles themselves. The menorah, with its 8 branches plus the central shamash, reflects not only the miracle of the oil but the unity of a people lighting their way forward. Each night of Hanukkah invites families to reflect on perseverance and resilience, reminding them that even the smallest act of defiance can illuminate the darkness. The act of lighting candles in a home becomes a ritual of remembrance, connecting modern observers with generations who stood against oppression and emerged victorious. The dreidel, a seemingly simple spinning top, carries its own history of subversive ingenuity. When Jewish education was outlawed by Antiochus IV, children and adults alike risked severe punishment for studying the Torah. The dreidel allowed them to disguise study sessions as play, turning a simple game into a vehicle for preserving knowledge. Each Hebrew letter, Nun, Gimel, He, Shin, served as a mnemonic, encoding the message Nes Gadol Hashem, meaning a great miracle happened there. Through this, culture and faith endured even under the harshest of restrictions. Cultural resilience was mirrored in food and celebration. Foods fried in oil, such as latkes and sufganiyot, commemorate the centrality of oil in the temple story, linking everyday sustenance to a symbol of enduring faith. Each bite becomes a remembrance of the struggle, a way to taste history and the triumph of perseverance. These rituals may seem festive, but they are also deeply didactic, instilling lessons of courage, identity, and survival with every meal shared across generations. Even the military campaigns carried symbolic weight. Judah Maccabees' leadership emphasized not only strategy, but moral principle. Letters from the period, preserved in historical chronicles, reveal that the Maccabees sought to minimize unnecessary bloodshed, to protect civilians whenever possible, and to inspire loyalty through courage rather than fear. Their victory was not a simple conquest, it was a moral statement that faith and conscience cannot be subjugated, even by the mightiest empires. The Hanukkah story, as celebrated today, condenses these centuries-old events into 8 nights of candlelight, but the depth of the tale reveals the complexity of human courage. It reminds us that revolutions are fought not only with weapons, but with hope, wisdom, and unity. It shows that even the smallest community, when bound by shared values and unwavering belief, can overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The Maccabees' legacy is one of moral and strategic brilliance, proving that endurance and identity are often more powerful than raw force. As we reflect on these events, it becomes clear that the miracles of Hanukkah may not be purely supernatural. The miracle of the oil could be understood as a symbol of resilience, representing the capacity of a small, dedicated group to preserve culture, faith, and identity against overwhelming odds. Likewise, the survival of Jewish traditions under Greek-Syrian oppression demonstrates a form of miraculous endurance rooted in human courage and collective action. The story also sheds light on the broader historical context. The Seleucid Empire's attempt to impose uniformity on Judea was not unique in history, but the Jewish response was remarkable for its combination of military action, religious devotion, and cultural preservation. Their success ensured that the Jewish people retained not only their land and political autonomy, but also their language, laws, and traditions, which would continue to influence civilizations for millennia. Understanding the true history of Hanukkah transforms our view of the festival. It is not simply a celebration of ancient miracles, but a commemoration of resistance, identity, and the human spirit. It is a reminder that even in the face of systemic oppression, ordinary people can achieve extraordinary feats. Lighting the menorah each night becomes an act of remembering this courage, connecting families across generations to a legacy of resilience. The enduring power of Hanukkah lies in its lessons. Courage, faith, and identity are inseparable. The Maccabees story encourages us to reflect on our own lives and consider how we respond to challenges. It asks us to value knowledge, preserve culture, and honor the sacrifices of those who came before us. In doing so, we participate in a tradition that transcends centuries, a living reminder of humanity's capacity for endurance, ingenuity, and moral fortitude. Part 3. Even after the Maccabees secured Jerusalem and purified the temple, the path forward was fraught with tension, political maneuvering, and the ongoing challenge of preserving a culture under the shadow of great empires. Their victories, though celebrated in history, were not final. The Seleucid Empire remained a formidable power, and the broader geopolitical landscape was shifting rapidly. The Jewish people had reclaimed their land, but maintaining autonomy and faith required constant vigilance. Judah Maccabee, now a seasoned leader, faced not only external threats but also the task of unifying a population that had been scattered and oppressed. Families who had practiced their faith in secret for decades returned to a public life where their religion was openly expressed, and yet divisions persisted. Some Jews, worn by years of oppression, preferred compromise to conflict, seeking accommodation with Greek culture. Others remained staunchly resistant, insisting on strict adherence to the laws and traditions of their ancestors. Judah had to navigate these internal divisions, understanding that the survival of the Jewish people depended as much on unity and moral clarity as on military strength. The battles that followed were as much about strategy and intelligence as courage. The Maccabees conducted campaigns that relied on speed, precision, and intimate knowledge of the land. Ambushes in narrow mountain passes, surprise attacks on supply lines, and clever use of terrain allowed a relatively small force to challenge one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world. Modern historians, examining these campaigns, often marvel at the combination of daring and tactical genius demonstrated by the rebels. The notion of miraculous victories, long celebrated in religious texts, may well have been an acknowledgement of human ingenuity and resilience under extraordinary circumstances. While warfare raged across the Judean countryside, the people's spiritual life remained central. Rebuilding the temple was not simply an act of restoring physical structures, it was a reclaiming of identity. Every ritual, every sacrifice, every prayer was a deliberate assertion that their culture and faith could not be extinguished. The lighting of the menorah, with the central shamash and 8 branches, became a powerful symbol of resilience. The story of the oil lasting 8 nights, though perhaps symbolic rather than literal, embodied the idea that even when resources are scarce and circumstances dire, hope and determination can illuminate the darkest of times. Cultural practices evolved to ensure that the story of resistance and faith would endure. The Dreidel, with its 4 Hebrew letters, became a tool for hidden education, allowing children to continue learning Torah under the watchful eyes of Greek authorities. The letters Nun, Gimel, He, Shin stand for Nes Gadol HaShem. A great miracle happened there, preserving memory in a simple yet ingenious form. Through games, storytelling, and ritual, the Maccabees' legacy continued to shape the lives of ordinary Jews, embedding resilience into the very fabric of culture. Food and communal practices also carried deep meaning. Latkes, fried in oil, and sufganiyot, sweet pastries, became symbols of endurance. Each bite is a remembrance of survival against oppressive forces and a celebration of life's continuity. These customs, while festive, serve as reminders of the struggles that enabled the Jewish people to maintain their identity through centuries of challenge. They are living links to history, teaching values of perseverance, community, and gratitude. The Hanukkah story also reveals the nuanced interplay between politics and faith. Antiochus IV's campaign to Hellenize Judea was driven by imperial strategy, but it collided with deeply rooted religious identity. The Maccabees' rebellion illustrates that resistance is often born not solely of ideology but of necessity, the need to protect a way of life, cultural memory, and moral principles. It is a lesson that resonates across time. The preservation of culture requires vigilance, courage, and, at times, decisive action. Modern scholarship has also shed light on the symbolic elements of Hanukkah. The miracle of the oil may have served as a narrative device to inspire a traumatized people, providing a story of hope that reinforced communal identity. Similarly, the emphasis on light, the menorah, candles, and the act of illumination symbolizes more than a historical event. It represents the triumph of knowledge over ignorance, perseverance over oppression, and faith over fear. In this sense, Every lighting of the menorah is a reenactment of the courage and moral clarity that enabled the Maccabees to succeed. The story of Hanukkah, when viewed through this historical lens, becomes more than a festival. It is a testament to the capacity of human beings to resist assimilation and oppression, to defend cultural identity, and to ensure that knowledge, faith, and traditions survive even under threat. The Maccabees exemplify the power of a small, committed group to influence the course of history, proving that courage combined with strategy can achieve outcomes that seem impossible. Yet, Hanukkah's lessons extend beyond military success. They remind us that culture is not only preserved through victories, but through everyday acts of remembrance. Lighting candles, sharing stories, teaching children, and celebrating heritage are all ways to maintain identity. These acts are a continuation of the rebellion, not with weapons, but with faith and community. They honor the sacrifices of those who fought to secure the freedom to practice religion openly and to live according to their beliefs. In the centuries that followed, Hanukkah became a beacon for Jewish communities worldwide. The celebration adapted to different cultures, climates, and historical contexts, but its core meaning remained intact, a commemoration of resistance, resilience, and the enduring power of faith. Each element, the menorah, the dreidel, the foods, and the songs, serves as a vessel for memory, carrying the story of courage and identity into the present. The significance of Hanukkah also lies in its universality. While rooted in a specific historical moment, its themes resonate with people facing oppression, injustice, or threats to cultural survival. The story reminds us that the fight for freedom and dignity is ongoing, that resilience is cultivated not only in extraordinary circumstances, but in everyday life, and that history can provide guidance, inspiration, and hope. As we light the candles today, we are not merely celebrating a holiday. We are participating in a ritual of remembrance, connecting with the courage of the Maccabees and the generations who carried their story forward. Every glow of the menorah, every spinning dreidel, and every shared tradition is a testament to the enduring spirit of a people who refuse to be silenced. In understanding Hanukkah beyond the simplified narratives, we gain a deeper appreciation for the intersection of history, culture, and faith. We see how ordinary individuals, driven by principle and devotion, can shape the destiny of a people. We recognize that miracles may take many forms, from divine intervention to human ingenuity and courage. And we are reminded that the past is never fully past. It lives on in stories, rituals, and the light that continues to shine in the darkest of times. Part 4. Even after the reclamation of Jerusalem and the purification of the temple, the journey of the Jewish people was far from complete. The Maccabees had secured victory on the battlefield, but peace was fragile, and the deeper task of ensuring cultural survival required vigilance, wisdom, and unity. Their struggle was no longer just against external forces. It had become a test of internal resilience. Would the Jewish people remain faithful to their traditions, or would the pressures of assimilation and the lingering influence of Hellenistic culture erode their identity over time? Judah Maccabee and his brothers faced this challenge with the same courage that had guided them in war. They knew that winning battles alone was not enough. To preserve their faith, they needed to cultivate a culture of remembrance and education, ensuring that the story of resistance was passed down with fidelity. Communities gathered in homes and synagogues, where elders recounted the events of the revolt, not as myths, but as history alive with lessons. These narratives reinforce the importance of courage, unity, and moral conviction, reminding everyone that their survival depended not only on military success, but on the integrity of their culture. The temple, now purified and restored, became the heart of Jewish spiritual life. The menorah, central to the observance of Hanukkah, was more than a source of light. It was a symbol of continuity, resilience, and hope. Lighting the menorah each night reaffirmed a bond with ancestors who had risked everything for freedom. The 8 candles represented not only the miracle of the oil but also the enduring spirit of a people who refused to surrender their beliefs. Each flicker was a reminder that faith, like light, can persist even in the darkest circumstances. Hanukkah traditions evolved to encode lessons of subversive ingenuity and cultural preservation. The Dreidel, which appears today as a simple children's game, served a far more profound purpose in its origin. During the time of Greek oppression, Jewish children would secretly study Torah, using the spinning top to disguise their learning. The Hebrew letters on the Dreidel, Nun, Gimel, He, Shin, served as mnemonic devices, embedding the message Nes Gadol Hashem, or a great miracle happened there. This small, clever tradition ensured that knowledge and faith survived under the most challenging conditions, demonstrating that resilience can take many forms. Food also became a medium for memory and celebration. Latkes, fried in oil, and sufganiyot, sweet jelly-filled donuts, commemorate the central miracle of Hanukkah and connect celebrants to the historical struggle. Each meal is more than a festive indulgence. It is an act of remembrance, honoring the endurance and ingenuity of those who kept their traditions alive despite oppression. Through these rituals, ordinary activities, eating, playing games, telling stories, become vessels for cultural memory, linking present generations to the sacrifices of the past. Beyond the domestic and ritual dimensions, the story of Hanukkah illuminates profound lessons about leadership, strategy, and moral courage. Judah Maccabee exemplified a rare combination of tactical brilliance and ethical leadership. He understood that true victory was not only measured in territorial gains but in the ability to inspire loyalty, protect civilians, and preserve the moral integrity of his people. Letters and historical chronicles suggest that Judah prioritized minimizing unnecessary bloodshed and building alliances, demonstrating that the fight for freedom need not sacrifice humanity itself. The historical context of Hanukkah also offers a window into the broader dynamics of empire and resistance. Antiochus IV, while often portrayed as cruel and tyrannical, was a ruler attempting to consolidate a diverse empire through cultural uniformity. His efforts to impose Hellenism were politically motivated, aiming to reduce dissent and unify his territories under one dominant culture. The Maccabees' rebellion illustrates how faith, identity, and moral conviction can confront even the most powerful political forces, showing that resistance is often rooted in the defense of principles rather than mere opposition. Understanding the true history of Hanukkah allows us to see the festival in a richer, more nuanced light. The miracle of the oil, whether literal or symbolic, represents the triumph of perseverance and hope over adversity. The Menorah and Dreidel are not merely festive objects, they are embodiments of courage, education, and cultural preservation. The battles fought by the Maccabees remind us that freedom often comes at a cost, and that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary outcomes when united by a shared purpose. Hanukkah also offers insights into the human capacity for resilience under systemic oppression. It demonstrates that survival is not passive. It requires deliberate action, strategic thinking, and moral clarity. The enduring traditions of candle lighting, storytelling, and communal celebration are living testaments to the Maccabees' vision, ensuring that their lessons continue to inspire and guide generations. In this sense, Hanukkah is both a historical commemoration and a timeless call to courage and integrity. Even centuries later, Hanukkah resonates beyond the Jewish community. Its themes of perseverance, identity, and moral courage hold universal appeal. The festival reminds us that cultural survival is a continuous effort and that traditions endure when communities commit to remembering, teaching, and embodying their values. The lighting of candles, the sharing of food, and the retelling of history are acts of collective memory that reinforce identity and transmit wisdom across generations. In reflecting on the deeper significance of Hanukkah, we begin to appreciate its lessons not only in historical terms but in practical, everyday applications. Courage, faith, and unity are not abstract virtues. They are actionable qualities that guide human behavior. Hanukkah teaches that even in moments of fear and oppression, individuals can make choices that shape the destiny of a people. It reminds us that miracles are often realized through persistence, ingenuity, and unwavering belief in justice and truth. The story of Hanukkah also challenges us to look beyond surface-level celebrations and seek the deeper narratives embedded within tradition. The festival encourages curiosity about history, the motives of leaders, and the experiences of ordinary people who fought for freedom and identity. It invites reflection on how cultural memory is preserved through rituals, symbols, and communal practices. Each candle lit, each dreidel spun, and each story told becomes a bridge between the past and the present, connecting us to a legacy of courage and resilience that continues to shape the world today. Ultimately, Hanukkah reminds us that history is alive in our practices and celebrations. By understanding the struggles, strategies, and moral courage of the Maccabees, we gain insight into the enduring power of faith, the importance of cultural preservation, and the potential for ordinary people to achieve extraordinary outcomes. The festival is not only a celebration of past victories, but also a call to embody the principles of resilience, wisdom, and unity in our own lives. Part 5. As the centuries passed, the story of Hanukkah evolved from a historical rebellion into a living tradition that resonates with communities around the world. The Maccabees' victory over the Seleucid Empire may have been a moment frozen in time, but its significance ripples through generations, reminding us that courage, faith, and identity are not fleeting. They endure. Today, when families gather to light the menorah, spin the dreidel, and share festive meals, they are participating in a ritual that embodies the same resilience and hope that sustained their ancestors under oppression. Each flame flickering in the night is more than a symbol. It is a testament to the persistence of culture and the unbreakable bond between past and present. The story of Hanukkah also highlights the power of collective action. The Maccabees were a small band of determined individuals, yet their unity and strategic brilliance allowed them to confront an empire. Their victories remind us that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome when people act with courage, vision, and shared purpose. The battle for the temple was not just a military campaign. It was a fight for cultural survival, for the right to practice one's faith, and for the affirmation of identity in the face of systemic oppression. These lessons are timeless, applying not only to ancient Judea but to communities everywhere striving to preserve values, traditions, and freedom. Beyond the battlefield, Hanukkah carries profound ethical and moral lessons. The Maccabees' leadership emphasized not merely winning, but doing so with integrity. They sought to protect civilians, minimize unnecessary violence, and inspire loyalty through principle rather than fear. This blend of courage and ethics provides a blueprint for leadership across eras, illustrating that true strength lies not only in force, but in the ability to act with justice and wisdom. In lighting the menorah, communities celebrate not just survival but the moral clarity that guided the Maccabees, teaching modern audiences that virtue and determination are inseparable in the pursuit of lasting success. Modern celebrations of Hanukkah, while often focused on gifts and festive foods, carry hidden layers of meaning that connect participants to history. The dreidel, the latkes, the sufganiyot, they are more than fun or culinary tradition. They are carriers of memory and symbols of survival under adversity. When children play with dreidels, they enact a historical story of clandestine learning and cultural preservation. When families share oil-fried foods, they taste a tangible link to the struggles and triumphs of their ancestors. These practices ensure that the lessons of resilience, faith, and ingenuity are passed on, reminding each generation of the importance of remembering and honoring the past. Hanukkah also serves as a reminder that history is rarely as simple as it appears in popular retellings. The oft-repeated story of a small jar of oil burning for 8 nights is emblematic not only of miraculous intervention, but of the enduring spirit of a people. Historical research suggests that the miracle may have been a symbolic narrative crafted to inspire a traumatized community and to celebrate the perseverance of the Jewish people. In this light, the festival becomes an allegory for endurance. Even in the darkest times, determination, cleverness, and unwavering faith can illuminate the path forward. The holiday's underlying message is one of empowerment. Hanukkah shows that identity is not imposed by rulers or empires. It is cultivated and defended by communities committed to their values. The Maccabees' story demonstrates that ordinary individuals, acting together with purpose and moral conviction, can shape history in profound ways. Each act of remembrance, every candle lit, Every story told becomes an affirmation that human courage and faith can transcend oppression and endure for centuries. Furthermore, Hanukkah invites reflection on the ways cultural memory is preserved. Rituals, symbols, and traditions are not merely ceremonial. They are mechanisms for transmitting knowledge, values, and history across generations. By participating in these customs, individuals engage in a dialogue with the past, learning lessons of resilience, ingenuity, and moral courage that remain relevant today. In this sense, Hanukkah is not only a celebration of historical events, but also a living classroom, teaching principles that can guide behavior, decision-making, and community cohesion in the present. The festival also resonates beyond the Jewish community, offering universal insights into the human experience. It speaks to the power of hope, the importance of unity in the face of adversity, and the enduring significance of moral courage. The lighting of candles, the spinning of dreidels, and the sharing of stories are all acts that bridge time, connecting modern participants to struggles, triumphs, and lessons that transcend borders and epochs. Hanukkah teaches that even small acts, when performed with intention and awareness, can carry profound meaning, shaping the course of history and preserving the spirit of a people. As we reflect on the full story of Hanukkah, the festival emerges as much more than a seasonal celebration. It is a living testament to the courage of those who refuse to yield, the wisdom of leaders who balance strategy with ethics, and the ingenuity of communities that preserve knowledge under threat. It reminds us that miracles are not always supernatural. They can take the form of endurance, unity, and the unwavering commitment to principles and identity. Every act of remembrance becomes a link in an unbroken chain connecting the past to the present and future. In the end, Hanukkah is about more than candles, dreidels, and festive meals. It is about the human capacity to resist oppression, the power of cultural memory, and the enduring spirit of a people who refuse to surrender their identity. It is a story of hope, courage, and resilience that continues to inspire generations. Lighting the menorah today is not only a celebration of historical events, it is an acknowledgement that the lessons of the Maccabees remain alive, guiding us in our own struggles, reminding us to stand firm in our beliefs, and encouraging us to preserve the values that define us. The true story of Hanukkah, with all its historical complexity, political nuance, and moral depth, challenges us to look beyond myths and traditions. It encourages curiosity, reflection, and a deeper appreciation for the sacrifices and triumphs of those who came before us. Most importantly, it inspires us to recognize the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change, and to understand that the light we kindle today connects us to a legacy of courage that shines across centuries. As families around the world light their menorahs this Hanukkah, they are not merely celebrating a holiday, they are participating in a living history. They are honoring the bravery, faith, and resilience of the Maccabees, reaffirming their own identity and keeping the spirit of courage alive in the modern world. And in doing so, they carry forward a story that reminds us all that even in the darkest moments, hope, determination, and unity can create miracles that endure forever. YouTube outro. Closing narration. As we come to the end of this journey through the true story of Hanukkah, we are reminded that every flame of the menorah carries more than light. It carries the courage, faith, and resilience of generations. This is a story of ordinary people who dared to defy an empire, preserve their culture, and keep their identity alive against all odds. Hanukkah is more than a festival. It is a living testament to the enduring power of hope, unity, and moral courage. Each candle we light, each dreidel we spin, each story we tell connects us to the sacrifices and triumphs of the past. It invites us to reflect on our own lives and consider how we uphold our values, protect our communities, and preserve the legacy of those who came before. So, as the menorah glows tonight, remember, the miracles of Hanukkah are not only in oil that burned 8 nights, they are in the resilience of the human spirit, in the bravery to stand for what is right, and in the determination to carry forward a culture that refuses to be silenced. If this journey through hidden history inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so the light of these stories continues to shine far and wide. And always ask yourself, how will you carry the light of courage and faith into your own life? Glowing Star Menorah.